From the ugly to the awesome to the downright weird, Hollywood has brought a whole cosmos' worth of alien characters to the silver screen. But what do we know about the human beings who portrayed them? Star Trek First Contact retconned the Borg collective to have a single leader, the Borg Queen, played by Alice Krige. In the film, the Borg Queen is kind of a nightmare to behold. She's decked out in grey body paint, stripped of her hair, and wears a bodysuit that's seemingly attached to her, giving her the appearance of a half-woman, half-robot alien monster. The heavy makeup and costuming made the shoot difficult for Krige, especially when it came to using the bathroom. In 1997, she told Starlog, "It took me 45 minutes to get out of the costume, then 45 minutes to get me back in it, and the whole crew sat there with their hands folded while I peed." So, to minimize her breaks, Krige opted to drink less. She recalled, "It was a disturbing enough experience for me not to want to do that again, so I didn't drink very much after that." Despite these challenges, Krige says the impressive costume and makeup helped her to slip into character as the insidious Borg Queen. She said, "I was overwhelmed with gratitude for what they had all done, and how well it had been conceived. I certainly wanted to try to accomplish a character that was at once attractive and repulsive and frightening, yet you were obliged to look at her." Avengers Infinity War brought together more Marvel characters than anyone could count, and it introduced a few more along the way too. Among those newcomers was Proxima Midnight, a member of the Black Order and henchman for the cosmic despot Thanos.
Thanos would have nothing but dust and blood.
We have blood to spare.
And while Proxima is a fearsome alien with blue and white skin, the actor who played her is anything but terrifying. Proxima was portrayed by Carrie Coon, who is better known today for her role as Laurie in Season 3 of The White Lotus. Coon's performance as Proxima Midnight was brought to life mostly with motion capture. Early in her career, Coon had performed mocap for video games, so she thought she knew what she was getting into with Infinity War. But it wasn't quite what she expected. In 2018, she told Entertainment Weekly, "It was a very different experience. I was also pregnant when I did it. I flew down to Atlanta and did some mocap, mostly the facial capture." Though Coon is responsible for all of the acting and voice work behind Proxima, she was also quick to credit her digital collaborators. She explained, "I can't take credit for all of it. It's a gifted team of animators that are taking on the bulk of that performance, but it morphed from a voiceover job into a mocap job. And then suddenly I realized I was in the highest grossing movie of the year." The Guardians of the Galaxy films changed the very face of the MCU, not least by introducing a whole host of alien races to the franchise. And one memorable adversary featured in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is Taserface.
"Do you shoot tasers out of your face?"
It's metaphorical!
Chris Sullivan was the man behind the makeup for Taserface. Speaking to Entertainment Weekly, he explained, "The makeup process started off at about 3.5 hours, and we whittled it down to about 2.5 as the makeup team got more and more practiced at it. It was quite involved. It wasn't all bad though, as Sullivan had company to keep him entertained while he went through hair and makeup. He said, "Every morning, bright and early, I shared a makeup trailer with Michael Rooker, so it was he and I sitting next to each other getting ready for work and sharing stories of our lives. Michael Rooker is like the Merle Haggard of the acting world. Never a dull moment, never a dull story." 2007's Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer saw the cinematic debut of one of Marvel's most popular villains, the world-devouring cosmic entity known as Galactus.
All that you know is at an end.
Unfortunately, the movie's interpretation of Galactus was anything but impressive, as he was basically reimagined as, well, a big cloud. Flash forward nearly 2 decades, and Marvel Studios seems to have finally done the character right, employing Game of Thrones and Harry Potter star Ralph Ineson to play the gargantuan Planet Eater in the Fantastic Four: First Steps. You might be surprised to learn that Ineson's version of Galactus wasn't achieved through purely digital trickery. As the film's director, Matt Shakman, brought Ineson on set for filming, he told Entertainment Weekly, "I didn't want to just use motion capture for Galactus. I wanted to actually have someone there embodying the part. So we've built an entire costume for him, and we've done a lot of photography testing to figure out how do you make sure that the scale is correct? How do you film Mount Rushmore?" It's up to fans whether Ineson will be remembered as the definitive Galactus, but one thing is for sure, he's a lot more impressive than whatever this was. In 2012, Ridley Scott returned to the franchise it helped create with the Alien prequel Prometheus.
Big things have small beginnings.
Set long before the events of the first movie, Prometheus explores the untold origins of the xenomorphs and the mysterious creators, the Engineers. The Engineers of Prometheus are depicted as tall, pale, humanoid beings, but they weren't created using CGI or motion capture. In fact, they were played by actors wearing physical makeup and prosthetics, with Ian White portraying the most prominent of the bunch. White, whose 7-foot-plus frame made him ideal for the part, was decked out in a muscle suit and bald cap for the role. He also had his entire body painted white. Surprisingly enough though, this costume probably wasn't the most complicated makeup process White had been through. Prior to Prometheus, he had also portrayed a Predator in Alien vs. Predator, as well as various large characters in Game of Thrones. More recently, he played the alien Vetch in the Star Wars spin-off series Andor.
He said all I needed to do was stand here.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is front and center in the 1987 action horror classic Predator, but much of the movie's success came down to the man behind the iconic monster's mask, stuntman Kevin Peter Hall.
What the hell are you?
In addition to the Predator, Hall is known for playing Harry in Harry and the Hendersons and a Klingon in an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. Speaking to Starlog magazine in 1990, he said, "People know me because I play the monsters, but I'm most recognized from the small roles in which they see my face. None of that stuff really bothers me. Whether I'm recognized in or out of a costume isn't a kind of pressure I put myself through anymore." Beneath all that makeup and heavy prosthetics, Hall was a dashing figure of a man. It was his impressive height that landed him all that work though. Hall stood at a towering 7 feet 2 inches tall, making him the perfect actor to play a monster like the Predator. Tragically, Hall lost his life to AIDS in 1991, just a year after starring in Predator 2. Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, and Ben Affleck may have headlined the DCEU's roster of heroes, but its villains were portrayed by some pretty heavy hitters too, from Michael Shannon to Jared Leto to Margot Robbie. In Justice League, the big bad Steppenwolf was played by Kieran Hines, a screen veteran who has appeared in such productions as Rome and Game of Thrones. Hines mostly performed motion capture for the role, donning a skin-tight mocap suit that, in an interview with The Independent, he described as tight and embarrassing. And while the CGI for Steppenwolf was basically okay, especially in Zack Snyder's version of the movie, it does seem like an odd choice to have covered Hines in so much digital makeup. After all, his imposing glare and deep frown is more intimidating than anything a computer could come up with. Chewbacca is among the most recognizable characters in all of science fiction cinema, and is also one of the tallest. Both Chewie and Peter Mayhew measure in at 7 feet 3 inches. You may not recognize Mayhew if you're not a dedicated Star Wars fan, however. He never did much on-screen acting in his career, and he rarely sat for on-camera interviews. As for the experience of performing underneath all that fur, well, Mayhew never seemed to complain much about that. Before his death in 2019, the actor posted an AMA on Reddit, and quite a few of the questions were about Chewie's costume. Asked if it was itchy, Mayhew explained that he had an undersuit that prevented too much itching. He also revealed that the suit was extremely hot to perform in, and that he even passed out on one occasion during filming on The Empire Strikes Back. Most of the crew had other things on their mind at the time though. As Mayhew recalled, they were more interested in the 3PO suit on my back being dented.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
Thor: The Dark World may rank as one of the worst MCU movies of all time, but it's hard to fault the design of its villains.
See you in hell, monster.
While Christopher Eccleston's Malekith often gets credit as the movie's best-looking baddie, Algrim might be even better. Adewale Akinoye Akbaje donned makeup and prosthetics to play this dastardly dark elf, who is eventually transformed into the monster known as Curse. In an interview with Collider, Akinoye Akbaje explained that he didn't even know how he was going to look until filming began. He said, "There's pieces, you know, the hair pieces, the face, so you don't see any of it in its entirety until pretty much towards the end. Just before the principal photography, you're like, this is what I look like." It's a journey and it's a revelation when you actually see it. To play Curse, Akinoye Akbaje had to wear a 30+ pound bodysuit as well as a fiberglass body cast. He recalled, "I found that less was actually more with him because the bulk actually said a lot and certain movements. It's very flexible, the mask that they put on, so every grimace and wink you can see." Ironically, playing Curse actually helped improve the actor's posture, thanks to the way the costume forced him to walk on set. Back in 2011, Green Lantern tried and failed to introduce us to a whole new world of superheroes. The film was a box office bomb that killed the studio's first attempt at a DC movie-verse, and a lot of the blame has since been laid on its over-reliance on CGI. The visuals were even used to awkward effect on Reynolds himself, whose entire superhero outfit was made with digital effects. The crew also chose to forego motion capture with the movie's alien characters, such as Tomar Re, instead making them entirely computer-generated. Jeffrey Rush, who played Tomar Re, recalled, "I saw the artwork and I said I would love to be that guy. Because I had once voiced an owl in Legend of the Guardians, The Owls of Ga'Hoole, and I'd voiced a pelican in Finding Nemo, and I thought I could really improve on that now by being half bird, half fish, part lizard. You don't get to do that in a live-action film." Rush, of course, is a veteran of stage and screen, appearing in blockbuster movies like Pirates of the Caribbean and critically acclaimed dramas such as The King's Speech, Shakespeare in Love, and Shine, the latter of which earned him an Academy Award. A cult classic from the early 80s, The Last Starfighter was an obvious attempt to cash in on the popularity of Star Wars.
What do? We die.
That's not to say it wasn't any good though. In fact, The Last Starfighter was a legitimately exciting, well-produced sci-fi adventure for the whole family. Hollywood veteran Dan O'Herlihy played the Obi-Wan-like alien mentor, Grig, in the movie. In his 60s when he filmed The Last Starfighter, O'Herlihy had been a Hollywood leading man for decades. During his heyday, he appeared in dozens of films, including Orson Welles' Macbeth, Robinson Crusoe, and The Virgin Queen. Modern audiences, meanwhile, likely remember him best for his role as the CEO of Omnicorp in the first two RoboCop films. Lee Pace has appeared in a whole bunch of movies and TV shows over the years, but arguably his most high-profile role is Ronan the Accuser, the alien villain of the 2014 Marvel film Guardians of the Galaxy. In the comics, Ronan is part of the blue-skinned alien species known as the Kree, so makeup artists Elizabeth Georgiou and David White had to paint Pace's whole body blue and almost entirely shroud his face in black tar. While promoting the film, Pace told the YouTube channel ScreenSlam that he actually loved wearing his extensive makeup because it serves as a mask for the character. He explained, "I move my face in a different way, but what's great about that too is that it's not the way the character looks, it's the way he wants to look. He's got blue skin, but on top of that, he's painted this fearsome mask because that's how he wants to present himself to the world." Georgiou and White also designed the look for other extraterrestrial characters in the film, which earned them an Oscar nomination for Best Makeup and Hairstyling in 2015. As for Pace, he went on to play Ronan again in 2019's Captain Marvel, foregoing the black face paint since the movie takes place before Guardians and features a less radicalized version of the character. French actress Maïwenn Lebesco, known mononymously as Maïwenn, portrayed the tall and mysterious alien opera singer Diva Plavalaguna in 1997's The Fifth Element. In a rare interview regarding her extraterrestrial role in the movie, Maïwenn explained how The Fifth Element's French writer-director Luc Besson, who was engaged to her at the time, offered her the part of Diva. Maïwenn initially passed, however, saying, "Oh, thank you, but if I love you, I want to show you my love that is pure, so I don't want to work with you." Besson ended up hiring a German model to play Diva, but she didn't show up to a makeup test, and so Maïwenn stepped in to play the part. Maïwenn also revealed that applying the prosthetics needed to play Diva took 3 hours every day. The team, led by Lois Burwell, applied makeup around Maïwenn's head before they glued Diva's giant prosthetic dome onto her own. Then they gave Maïwenn stilts and the dress, and since Maïwenn was so tall in her stilts, she required a special chair and her own crew to help her eat and drink. New Zealand-born actor Jermaine Clement is best known for playing comedic roles in movies and TV shows such as What We Do in the Shadows and Flight of the Conchords, but he also played a terrifying alien villain in the 2012 film Men in Black 3, for which he wore an absolute ton of prosthetics and makeup.
And it took 8 hours. So before you even start a work day, you've already had like what most people think of as a work day.
Luckily, by the end of the shoot, the makeup team had managed to get that time down just a little.
But then they gradually got it down to 4 hours, now we can do it in 3 hours.
Legendary makeup artist Rick Baker, who designed the aliens for Men in Black 3 and his two predecessors, brought Boris to life, and even made him scarier than intended. In 2012, Baker told Digital Trends, "In the script I got originally, he was a biker, but they described him as Dennis Hopper from Easy Rider. I said, you know what, I think he should be intimidating, like Charles Manson, or 1960s Hells Angels president Sonny Barger. I did these designs and kind of reinvented what I thought he should be." Actress, model, and dancer Sofia Boutella played the alien warrior Jaylah in 2016's Star Trek Beyond, her first role that involved prosthetic makeup. While promoting the film, Boutella explained to Screen Slam why she enjoyed the long makeup process, saying, "The meditation aspect of it is like getting into character. You actually take this time. Sometime you get on set and you have very little time. I've never done prosthetics before. I like that second skin. I like what it brought to me. It's like as soon as I had it on, you feel in character." Joel Harlow, the movie's makeup designer, explained to Inverse in 2017 why applying makeup to Boutella took longer than doing the same to Idris Elba, who played the film's similarly inhuman-looking villain, Kral. He said, "It's deceptively elaborate with lots of intricate dissections. Sofia Boutella wore a forehead that came down her cheeks and black design markings that went all the way down to her chin. The mouth, nose, and chin are Sofia. Otherwise, everything else is all a prosthetic." The time it took was worth it in the end, though, because Harlow and fellow makeup artist Richard Alonso both received an Oscar nomination for their work on Star Trek Beyond. British actor and comedian Simon Pegg portrayed the slimy alien junk dealer Unkar Plutt in 2015's Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. In a 2016 interview with Nerdist, the movie's creature supervisor Neil Scanlon explained that while they applied prosthetics to Pegg during the makeup process, they also got a little help from the VFX department. He said, "I think they did a little bit of CG enhancements on the inside of the mouth as well, to give him a slightly wider gape in his mouth than what you could do in real life. Obviously, it would have just been Simon's mouth otherwise." Even though a little CGI was used to bring Unkar Plutt to life, it was nowhere near the amount used for Lupita Nyong'o's Mars Kanata or Andy Serkis's Supreme Leader Snoke, which were full-blown motion capture performances. For Plutt, though, this successful blend of CGI and practical effects helped Scanlon and the film's special effects team earn themselves an Academy Award nomination. Sadly, Pegg himself didn't find the suit all that comfortable.
And I had these big rubber, like silicone gauntlets on, which were my fingers. And when I took them off, I could pour the sweat out.
At least he didn't have to wear it for long. Australian actor Ben Mendelsohn has played countless villains throughout his long career, but his turn as the alien Talos in 2019's Captain Marvel is one of the few roles for which he actually wore prosthetics and makeup. Although he gets to spend a little time out of makeup in the movie, Talos' true appearance is that of a Skrull, a race of green, shape-shifting aliens who are frequently found stirring up trouble in the Marvel universe. To Talos' credit at least, he and his cohorts are revealed to be refugees from the Kree Empire halfway through the events of Captain Marvel, so it's quite literally not all bad. To throw audiences off that particular twist, legacy effects supervisor Shane Mahan made the film's Skrulls look as intimidating as he could, landing on an appearance similar to that of their comic book counterparts. When asked about the length of the makeup process, Mendelsohn told Entertainment Weekly that, in total, it only took a couple of hours. When asked if the makeup team managed to quicken the process at all, Mendelsohn replied, "They have. What do? I sit there. No, they have. They're awesome. It's a couple of hours. It's not that big a deal, you know?" Scottish stuntman Ray Park famously wore a whole heap of makeup when he portrayed the acrobatic Sith Lord Darth Maul in 1999's Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. The film's principal makeup artist Paul Engeland spoke about Maul's devilish look in a 1999 issue of Makeup Artist magazine. He explained, "The red I used was actually a water-based aqua color that would fade, but it was quite easy to reapply by sponging on. The black was real tattoo color, which I had to paint on. It's kind of elasticized, so would tend to peel rather than run. I sponged it on with a fairly heavily saturated alcohol-based sponge and a lot of black pigment. Even with all of the action scenes shot out there, it worked." In an interview with Sci-Fi Wire in 2019, Park revealed he was initially unsure about Maul's look, explaining, "When they were doing me up, I just thought I looked silly. You know, my big nose and my weird teeth, and then my blue eyes. I just felt like a big panda, you know? But once the contact lenses were in and people were staring at me on set, it was like, wow." Park reprised his role for a cameo in 2018's Solo: A Star Wars Story, and provided motion capture for the character in The Phantom Apprentice, an episode of the animated series Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Josh Brolin may have donned his motion capture suit to play the alien villain Thanos in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but he wasn't actually the first actor to play the role. In fact, American actor and stuntman Damien Poitier underwent a round of prosthetics to portray the Mad Titan in a mid-credit stinger at the end of 2012's The Avengers. Flash forward to 2014, when Poitier explained to the Geeks with Wives podcast how he discovered which character he would play in The Avengers. The actor said, "I found out when I was in the makeup chair what I was doing. They kept it super quiet because they didn't want to put any spoilers out, so they kept it super quiet what I was doing, and I didn't find out until they were casting my face to do the sculpt." Although Poitier sadly wasn't destined to play Thanos again, he did play Hero Merc 1 in 2016's Captain America Civil War, so that's something, at least. In 2018, the costume and creature design powerhouse Ironhead Studio, led by Jose Fernandez, shared a behind-the-scenes photo on their Instagram of Poitier wearing the Thanos makeup and prosthetics. As the caption details, although Thanos ended up getting a digital sheen for the film and eventually became fully digitally rendered in Avengers Infinity War, Jose still has a soft spot for this practical makeup design. While the practical Thanos makeup was done away with for later Marvel movies, Ironhead did go on to do costume designs for Captain America Civil War, as well as a number of other high-profile movies and TV shows, including Aquaman and The Mandalorian. Australian actress Elizabeth Debicki has starred in a number of high-profile movies and TV shows throughout her career, but her turn as the alien queen Ayesha in 2017's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was easily the most makeup-heavy of them all, requiring her to be painted gold head to toe. While promoting the film, Debicki spoke to comicbook.com about putting on the makeup. She recalled, "They built a sort of car wash. There was a lot of paint and a lot of sitting around and drying. It's quite an intimate process." The film's makeup department head John Blake also spoke to Makeup Artist magazine about giving Ayesha's species, the Sovereign, their gold look. Going into detail about the trouble they had trying to land on a good color, he explained, "There's a lot of gold makeup out there, but some of it doesn't really have a metallic gleam, while others have the metallic gleam but can look very textury and crusty. So it was just a matter of mixing batch after batch of different materials before I could come up with a gold that had the right amount of softness and metallic gleam to it." In the end, Blake and the makeup team succeeded in giving the Sovereign a bright and visually arresting gold look, one that made them one of the most memorable aspects of the entire movie.